had she invited him? What was she after? At the curb, his footsteps faltered. Surely he was mad to come here. Crazy, like tearing at a wound almost healed. Why open himself to further injury? It had been 6 years since he had seen her. That last encounter came back as vividly as if it had only just happened. The cold rain falling down, the strong, scorched smell of earth after a long drought, the things that he'd done, the way he'd gotten it all so wrong, the hideous embarrassment. At the door now, he nearly turned back, convinced that even after all this time he still could not face her. And there were things she didn't know, things he would have to tell her. All his thinking, all his planning had not prepared him for her actually being this close. It was like a sudden blow aimed at the very centre of him. He felt it go through him, tingling down his legs and up into his chest, a physical pain that left him light-headed. There was more to it than just his guilt. He could sense her power, her magic, even through the thick plate glass. He was caught by it again, and the fear left him cold and shivering, despite the oppressive evening heat. Maybe he never would recover. Maybe she was in his blood forever, a fever that would recur and recur throughout his life, like malaria. Maybe that's what her father had meant. He could almost hear Jay's voice, a growling whisper deep in his ear. "Go, boy. Get away while you still can. You don't have to do this." He took a step back, as though he'd never intended to go in anyway. But he kept watching her through the window. Jay's voice came again, now with a jeering laugh. "Don't say that I didn't warn you." She blended with the people circling around her, an art student just out of college. But she was not really like the rest of them. There was a notoriety about her. Hers was the kind of story people liked to repeat to each other. Her father, J.A. Dalton, the well-known artist, not exactly a national treasure, but not far from it, his bizarre death, so sudden, all those paintings, all that money, and her so young. Richard remembered his shock upon reading the details of the inquest. He'd followed the story in private, buying his own newspaper, locking himself in the bathroom to read it. The names, the facts, the circumstances had leaped out at him from the pages. A worst dread realized. A nightmare come true. Actually seeing it all set out had made it real in a way it hadn't been before. He'd gripped the paper, scanning the columns, his fingers printing the pages with dampness. Even now it made his stomach churn to recall it. He'd been astounded by the final verdict. Death by misadventure. Weird people do weird things. That's what the coroner seemed to suggest. They thought it was an accident, but Richard felt guilty even now, as though it had all been his fault somehow. What if her brother, Joe, was here? Or her mother, Lucia? What he should really do was walk on down the street without looking back. He stared up at the gallery front. It had been a shop until recently. The original sign, Grisham & Sons, tailoring in men's attire, showed faint below the silver-on-white Gallery X design. Across the road, lurid neon winked on and off above an adult bookshop. The area was scruffy but full of character, cool and alternative, up and coming, but still dodgy enough to retain street creds. It figured that she would pick a place like that. It was a private viewing, but for once he wouldn't have to bluff his way past the guy at the door. He held up the invitation, which his mother had forwarded to him. He wondered how Clio had even known his parents' address. He didn't remember ever giving it to her. But if she wanted it, she'd find it. She was that kind of girl. She must have gone to some trouble to get it. That thought made his nerves tingle even more. In the gallery, he blended into the crowd. Not all her art student friends were punks, and he was just another guy dressed in black, his long hair tied back. She was standing deep in conversation with a group of people. As he came in, she looked up, and for a second their eyes met. She nodded and gave a wide smile that made his heart jump. She mouthed something he couldn't hear, her teeth very white against the purple lipstick, her big eyes bright and slightly mocking. Richard remembered that look very well. She was detaching herself from the group she'd been with, moving toward him through the crowded room, causing him to search frantically.